Hello, it's Kevin L. Jackson. I'm out here at the NTT Experience Center, learning a lot about IOWN, and I got the opportunity to speak with Mr. Vito Mabrucco, right? Is that it?
Well done, yes.
Thank you.
You pronounced it very right. Thank you.
So you're the global marketing executive for NTT, right?
Yes, I am. I was recently appointed that role, and very exciting, very big opportunity, big challenge for us. As the global CMO, I've been given the opportunity and the challenge to really get the NTT group message out into the world. Many people may have heard of NTT, but they don't realize that we're 110 billion, 330,000 people in 80 countries. And most importantly, we're investing in technologies to change the world. That's really what we're about.
Well, that's huge, and I've actually worked with NTT for a few years, but I understand you're from Toronto. Is that true?
That's right.
Had to go to Canada to grab you? How did that happen?
You know, these days, doesn't matter where you live, as long as you're near a good airport.
Oh, yeah,
but, I've been a long veteran, as you can tell, of the IT industry, working for companies like Cisco and IBM and Dell and Compaq and Tandem and IDC is a market research company. So I just was somebody who became very interested in companies that were moving forward in the technology world. And I felt that when NTT came knocking, they had a great story to tell, and I wanted to be part of it. So I'm in Toronto, but I'm also everywhere else.
Okay. So they scoured the world for the best in talent and found you up in Toronto. That's great. So I tell you, your experience in IT. So what made you sort of want to join NTT?
Well, you know, I have a lot of experience. I've experienced some great companies, as I mentioned, Cisco and IBM and Dell. But what I found about NTT is that it was more than technology. It's a purpose-driven company. From its beginnings, from our beginnings, 150 years ago, we were given a mission to connect the society of Japan. And that mission became not just for Japan, but for the world. And when I hear and feel that, it just gives me something that it's more than just a technology company. And that's what I feel really good about being here.
So what is this IOWN thing? I've been hearing a lot about it. And I guess in its meaning, innovative optical and wireless network. See, I've been listening. I've been listening.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting collection of words, but it actually has some very deep meanings behind it. And so IOWN, first initiated in 2019, but it's actually based on a somewhat, existing concept of photonics.
Okay.
So we've been doing photonics as a telecommunications company for a long time for transmission purposes. But what we realized is that photonics could be used for more than transmission. It could be used for more than long-distance transmission. Right. It could be used in the computing infrastructure as well. And when we started to dig deeper into that, we realized not only can it be used, but it can solve one of the biggest problems we have in the IT industry, which is power consumption. Okay. We can't get to the next level of the internet. We can't do the things that we know we need to do as a society to improve society, whether it's through medical or health and prosperity, without doing something different. The next internet is not going to be based on the same infrastructure that exists today.
But IOWN is an NTT research initiative, right? How does that affect or support the operating arms of the company? You have a huge IT services group and Docomo. Well, I mean, one of the best CSPs in the world. So is this just pie in the sky?
Well, no, this is actually the exact formula that we believe will make it successful.
Okay.
Because having both a mobile operator, Docomo, with 85 million customers, and having a global IT services company, NTT Data, we now have two ways of understanding the market needs, consumers and business. And so you asked about, our research and development, why are we doing that? And we believe, and how our history has shown, is that when we invest in primary research, things that are down to the the nano level, we see things that can change the future. And if you don't do it at that level, and it takes time, it takes a lot of money and persistence, but we have that DNA that says if you do the investment over the period of time that you need to do, you will solve big problems. And our advantage is that we can both do the investment in R&D, and then we can use our operating companies to get it to the rest of the world. On their own, they couldn't do it. Together, we can do it much better.
But the IT industry today, the only thing everyone focused on, I guess, is just a 5G global rollout and like extending or the cloud to the edge. So is that what this is? Is this just 5G and another name for cloud computing?
we get asked that a lot. It's like, well, it's just the next thing, and is it 6G? Is it the next model that everyone wants to buy? And no, it's not. Okay. It is a significant change in the innovation that will be required. 5G was great. It maybe got a little bit of a knock because it was overhyped, but it delivered a lot of things that we now take for granted. But we know that we are limited now because 5G only solves one piece. It doesn't solve all of the back-end infrastructure, and it doesn't solve the issues we have at the device level, which are constrained by power consumption and speed and capacity.
Yeah, well, one thing you brought up the fact that NTT has a history of supporting society, right? And as IT has advanced, we are seeing a digital divide because some locations get 5G, other locations just have 3G, and now you're like going beyond 6G to the new internet. What is this going to do to society? Is this digital divide just getting bigger?
Well, you bring up a very good point, and I was recently thinking more about that. And we do believe that if we create the right innovations without, seeking only for financial benefit, but seeking for the benefit of society, we see that gives us a longer-term ability to do two things which sound counterintuitive. Okay. On the one hand, contributing to society sounds like a government or some kind of not-for-profit. We're not a not-for-profit. We are a profitable company. But we've seen that when we believe in contributing and do contribute to society, it's good for business. Okay. So that's where we think we're not just different, and other companies say this too, but for us, it's in our DNA. For us, it's in our belief system that when you do good for society, you do good for business. And that's where we're looking forward to delivering IOWN to the society and hopefully remove the digital divide as we make computing and networking more ubiquitous. That's our hope. So
IOWN is really doing good and doing well for the company. Yep. So from the briefings we've had today, let me get this right. There's three major components of IOWN. You got the all photonics network, right? And then you have the digital twins that I guess that needs that zero latency, high bandwidth APN network. And then you have this cognitive foundation. That seems to be sort of like the heart of this entire thing. How do these components work together?
Very good. You mentioned you've hit on the three major components of IOWN, and let me start first by saying what we're trying to achieve at the top level with IOWN. It has three major benefits. First, it will be extremely high capacity, much more than we have today. Second, it will have extremely low latency, and I'll talk a little bit about why that matters. And third, and most importantly, it'll have extremely low power consumption. So now if you can have low power consumption while you increase capacity and latency, now you open up a whole new world of computing and computer processing and infrastructure. So what is that infrastructure? It's the all-photonics network is essentially saying that we replace electronic connections, electronic transmission to photonics. And when you do that, you significantly increase speed and reduce power. So we start first at the network level. We move into the board level of computers. We move into the interchip level, and then we move into the in-chip level. Now, we're not a few years away. The in-chip level is 5 to 10 years. But imagine, when you look at a chip and you see all the silver lines connecting everything, that's all electronics. Imagine if those, and that generates heat. Imagine if you can replace those with photonics, that fiber optic fiber that we all know. That it changes the whole, definition of what a chip can do. So that's the all-photonics network. The digital twin computing model that we have is not just creating a digital twin, because we can do that today. You can create a digital twin of this building, the city, a car, a jet engine. What we're talking about is creating real-time digital twins that interact with each other. So it's actually creating a digital twin world. Now you can start to have those digital twins interact. Let's say you have a digital twin of weather, a digital twin of a city, and a digital twin of an event. And you start predicting whether is the weather coming, when is the traffic hitting, and what's going to happen at that event. So now that's a simple example of how it's digital twins working with each other, but they can't do that unless they have an all-photonics network, because they need high speed, low latency, and we can't do that with a lot of power consumption because it's not good for the environment. And the third one, would you like me to carry on with that? The third one, I just wanted to mention something about the power consumption. I mentioned this earlier today. So we're all talking about net zero and carbon neutral, and we're going to get there in 2030, 2040. All the predictions are that current course and speed, we're not going to get there. Something different has to happen. Something has to change in the technology, because technology is one of the biggest power consumers in the world. So this isn't, just turning off the lights and, having off-hour, washing machines and things like that. We'll need a new technology that changes the power consumption model for all of our computing requirements. So we believe IOWN not only is good for business, as I said, but also will contribute to getting to a net zero and net neutral.
So IOWN is really sounds like a major component of the sustainability initiative.
Right. We don't believe we can get to the net zero sustainability initiative without this kind of technology. Is it just going to be ours technologies? No. That's the other thing we realize is that we're not doing this alone. We can't possibly be the only company that would introduce and implement this. In fact, it'll fail if we try to do that. We know that. So we have a very large partnership model called the IOWN Global Forum. We have over 110 technology companies.
And like Sony and Intel are part of it?
Sony and Intel are co-founders with us. They're very committed to this idea of photonics as the next generation of the internet. But we have lots of other large organizations, Ciena, Cisco, Microsoft, Qualcomm, Broadcom. I'm sure I'm leaving about 105 more out. but
they'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why didn't you mention my name? So I apologize for that up front. But it's just a fact that, and again, this is part of the experience of bringing the industry, is we've seen the failure of companies who try to go it alone. It may look potentially successful for a while, and ultimately those companies get called out for having the wrong instincts when they do it. Our instinct is open and collaborative, and we're going to make money, but we're not going to be such that we're going to hoard all of the benefits from it. We want it shared and distributed through partners, through society, through people, and through communities.
But another aspect of this, and this probably goes back to the digital twin aspect and how these digital twins collaborate with one another, and the data and information. Sounds like a huge data privacy challenge. So
the distributed, this
aggregated computing, and the focus on doing good for society. I mean, we can't even have a data privacy law, national law in the United States. Luckily, Europe is trying to help, but how do you do this in the digital twin world?
So the reality is the more power you have in the computing, the more you're able to protect privacy. That the issue is not the technology. The issue is the regulations and the what is allowed.
So government.
The governments and companies, right, who we know have not used it properly. But if you think about it, one of the reasons we can't do extreme privacy is because it's going to add a huge layer of overhead to the computing.
Okay.
Whether we crypt and decrypt and use cryptography and all of those things. So one of the solutions to extreme privacy is high speed, low latency,
low power. Yeah.
Right, low power, right? Okay. So you can start to use that to solve the problem of privacy. Solving the regulation problem is another one. So, that's a different challenge.
So actually, by doing IOWN, you can help improve regulation and privacy, and in that way, actually help society.
We give the tools. We give them all the capabilities, and we also are very active in nation-to-nation discussions about this.
Okay.
We're very worried that as a company about these powerful new technologies, whether it's AI or some of the new things that are coming, but what are they going to do to society? Because we've been there, right? We're here now with our whole social media scene and what's happened with our privacy. So why not start talking about it now? Because we know they're coming. And you make a good point. It's like, okay, now that you have all of this information, there's going to be a huge privacy issue, and that's true. So let's anticipate it. Let's start putting it into place now. Maybe we build it into the technology. We don't allow the technology to do certain things. I don't know the technical answer, but we know it's a problem that's going to happen. So let's build it now. So we're working very closely. In fact, our chairman is on the one of the AI council for in a company called CSIS. It's a U.S.-based company, and it's called Ethics for AI is the council, and they're trying to build a framework, and some of the partners include Microsoft, Accenture, and academia. So we want to get ahead of this curve. We don't want to make the same mistake we made with the current environment we have, and that's our commitment.
No, great. Thank you very much. We've covered a lot about IOWN. Is there anything that we missed?
Well, I missed the Cognitive Foundation.
Oh, yeah, the Cognitive Foundation.
So the Cognitive Foundation, once you disaggregate all this computing and you have computing now at the edge and very high power, high capacity computing, which is a lot of resources at the edge device, you still need something to manage it. You need some kind of, and I'll call Cognitive Foundations kind of the resource management and resource allocation.
Is this the AI part?
It manages, it's built on AI. You're right. It is built on AI. AI it's part of its engine, but its purpose is to manage this now extreme network of communications and processing, because when you introduce that much power into the network and into the next internet, you'll need some kind of management system. And maybe that's where the privacy comes in, right? Where you pre-code this privacy at this device is only, and again, you need high-speed connection to say, okay, that's been violated. Now you can go back to the Cognitive Foundation to say violation occurred, no longer allowed to access or whatever. So today, the cost to do that is too high for companies. So they just let it happen, and they find out 3 days later they've been hacked and they don't know why and where or how. When you change the model to high speed, high performance, low latency, you have the ability to stop those kinds of things sooner.
Okay, great. I mean, this has been a really enlightening event, and I guess you're going to have a larger event in March, Upgrade Reality?
Yes, we're very excited about that here at the NTT Experience Center. We're going to have our first, we call it the R&D Forum in Japan. We don't call it here, we call it the Upgrade Reality event. But we're bringing over our technologies and our ideas in Japan to San Francisco at the Experience Center. And we're really looking forward to having a huge crowd here, because we're going to have the actual researchers, but we're also going to have the operating companies that I talked about, who are the ones who are going to implement all of this. So we're bringing those two together so we can go from the primary R&D to the commercialization, and people are going to hear that story for I think it's a day and a half event.
Okay.
So please join us, and everyone else who's watching, please join us. We'd be happy to have you March 15th and 16th in the heart of San Francisco, across from the Moscone Center. I look forward to seeing everyone.
Thank you very much for this, and I'll be back to see you in March.
Thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Thank you.